In today's presentation, we're going to look at 5 steps that you can explore to set yourself up for financial success when budgeting for college. The first step is to learn the language. The second step is to budget. The third step is to save. The fourth step is to consider building credit and control debt. Lastly, the fifth step is to think about how you're going to protect your assets. Before we get started, we wanted to state that this presentation is for information purposes only. Speak to your parents, guidance counselors, and seek a licensed professional for any sort of financial advice.
The first step in navigating your finances and pursuing higher education is to learn and understand the language. Our goal is for you to build a foundation of financial capability. By this, we mean that you'll have the knowledge and tools to manage your money. Hopefully, you can walk away from this presentation with one piece of information that you can implement in your strategy to navigate your future college and career goals. Financial education is nothing without behavioral change. Thinking about how you'll navigate your future college and career goals can at times feel daunting. But just remember, don't get overwhelmed with the big picture. Small steps and changes can lead to big results. Focus on a few small steps you can implement into your strategy, then you can add a few more steps and changes next year and build from there. Here are some key terms that you should understand when navigating your finances while pursuing higher education. So, credit refers to the amount of money you're able to borrow to purchase goods and services. Credit is extended to you from a credit grantor with which you make an agreement to pay back the amount spent, plus any applicable interest and fees within an agreed upon time. Federal student aid refers to the aid from the government in the form of grants, loans, and/or work-study programs to assist students with college or career school. Students have to complete the FAFSA form to apply for this aid. Financial aid refers to the money that can be used to help pay for college or career school. A grant is a monetary gift for people pursuing higher education. It is often based on financial need and does not need to be repaid, unless, for example, you withdraw from school and owe a refund. Interest is a loan expense charged for the use of borrowed money. Interest is paid by a borrower to a lender. The expense is calculated as a percentage of an unpaid principal amount of the loan. Principal amount is the initial loan amount. Scholarships are gifts that don't have to be repaid and are designed to help students pay for a college degree. They can be a one-time gift or are renewable depending on the scholarship. Work study provides part-time jobs for undergraduate and graduate students with financial need. The program encourages community service work and work related to your field of study. To receive funds, you will need to be awarded work study and secure a job. Loans and grants and scholarships are two different methods of paying for college. Loans are money that must be paid back with interest to the lending institution. The lending institution might be a bank or the federal government. Grants and scholarships are often gifts given to students that do not need to be paid back unless otherwise stipulated. Students will often have to apply for this financial aid and meet their requirements. Scholarship can be found through the school as well as through private organizations. Financial aid can come from many sources in both the public and private sectors. Universities and colleges can provide both scholarships and financial aid as well. Typically, money lending institutions will require that a student fill out an application demonstrating their need for the aid. The most common among these applications is the FAFSA, or the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Now that you've made it beyond the college or university admissions requirements, you might be wondering, but how much does college cost? Tuition and fee costs of attending colleges and universities vary wildly among schools, depending on what type of college or university you're planning on attending. There are 2-year community colleges, 4-year public universities in state, 4-year public universities out of state, and 4-year private nonprofit universities. How much does college cost? There are 4 broad categories of colleges and universities that vary significantly in cost. While many universities and colleges froze tuition for the 2020-2021 academic year due to the pandemic, a report released this October by collegeboard.org titled Trends in College Pricing and Student Loans 2020 shows that colleges and university costs continue to increase. For a 2-year community college, the price was about $3,770. A 4-year public university in-state was about $22,180. A 4-year public university out-of-state was $38,640. A 4-year private nonprofit university cost about $50,770. Please note that the cost of the 2-year community college does not include room and board compared to the others which do. There are other major cost considerations to take into account when planning on going to college. Costs and expenses that you should expect include tuition and fees, books and supplies, room and board. This can include living on campus or off of campus, personal expenses such as clothing, personal hygiene, laundry, health insurance, etc., and transportation. Many of these categories might be funded by parents, grandparents, grants, or scholarships.
The second step is to budget your finances in order to save. Setting financial goals can help you when it comes to setting a budget and saving for your future. Goals are why you are making a budget and sticking to it. A strong why will help you when you have to make those small day-to-day decisions. Think about what some of your own goals might be. For example, a short-term goal could be putting money away towards a rainy day fund. A long-term goal could be paying off a student loan and being debt-free in 10 to 20 years. It's okay if you can't think of any goals at this moment. Hopefully, a few will come to mind while we're going through the budgeting process. Next, we'll discuss some strategies to help you meet your goals. When it comes to reaching your goals, are you doing or wishing? The difference is doers put action to their goals, and doers are much more likely to reach their goals and achieve their dreams. So if you're a doer, you're more likely to track your spending, live within your means, stick to a budget, pay off your credit cards in a timely way, deposit money into savings each month. Navigating your future requires that you begin to track where your money is going, set up a budget, and make small changes to begin to save. So tracking your daily spending habits is a very important first step, as stated, in creating an accurate budget and the only way to really learn where your money is going. So again, study your spending habits by tracking your daily expenses, log your day-to-day spending for a month, and include everything you purchase, any and everything that you pay for daily, no matter how small. Here's a fun tip. Since filling out forms isn't always fun or something that you remember to do, you can always take a selfie with every purchase, no matter how small. You'll have a visual record of the items purchased to refer to later in your budget practice. If tracking your day-to-day spending sounds a bit overwhelming, here's another option. Start small and track all your purchases for a week to get motivated to really budget. So when you're creating your personal budget, always consider your fixed and flexible expenses. Focus on making choices that are within your budget or choices that allow you to save money. So scan this shopping cart, so the shopping basket, and think about how you could save money. What budget would you consider flexible, and by how much would you adjust that budget to save? You can type your answer in the chat. The key takeaway is that our choices affects our costs. So you can always think about cutting your dining out expense, You can always think about cutting your clothing expense as well, or maybe shopping secondhand. Movies, you can always go to the library and borrow your movies. That doesn't cost anything. And personal care, you can always think about that as well. So practice makes perfect. Making a budget is a skill that will last a lifetime. You can use this table to get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is write down your income. It might be an allowance from your parents or money that you earn from a job. The second thing you're going to want to do is record that money that you spend. So include everything from downloads to snacks to clothing and more expensive items. And lastly, remember that when your income is greater than your expenses, you can save money for a future goal. So look for places to reduce your spending and start saving. Here's an example of a budget. And this income was calculated on a 12-hour dollar per hour rate, working, let's say, 29 hours a week. So your monthly income is $1,392. A one-bedroom apartment in Plano is about $1,090. Your utilities can cost anywhere from $100 to $158, depending. For the sake of this presentation, we said utilities are about $158. Groceries, let's say you spend $400 a month. Your transportation, $385. This includes gas and your monthly car payments. So your total expenses comes out to $2,033. Clearly that's over budget in what you bring in on a monthly income. So you are over by $641. So you're going to need to figure out a way to save. A one-bedroom apartment, you can always take in a roommate, and that cost could be split by half. So while there are several online budgeting templates that you can find along with budgeting apps, we wanted to empower you all to create your own budgets using Google Sheets. To get started, you'll need a Google account. If you have one, you can log into your account and follow along. Mind you, due to time restrictions, this will be a sped up tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started. Oops. All right. So you're going to want to log into your account, and if you hover over Google Apps, just go into Drive. You can select New and select Google Sheets. I already have one going. Okay, so Google Sheets is a web-based free application that you can access from any device. Let's look at some common terms. You have a cell, which is a single data point or element in a spreadsheet. You have a column, which is a vertical set of cells. You have a row, which is a horizontal set of cells. And a range is a selection of cells extending across a row and column or both. A function is a built-in operation from the spreadsheet app. It can be used to calculate cell, row, or range values and manipulate data. And a formula is the combination of functions, cells, rows, columns, and ranges used to obtain a specific result. You have your tools at the top, such as your border creation tool and your merge cells. Now this merge cells tool, that's going to create one larger cell. You also have your currency, your format is currency tool, and your percentage tool. These are the main tools we'll be using today. So let's jump in and create the skeleton of your budget. The first thing you're going to want to think about is, do you want your budget to be a weekly or monthly budget? We're going to create a monthly budget. The second thing you're going to want to think about is, what exactly do you want your budget to show? So this budget is going to have 4 tables showing our expenses, income, totals, and daily spending. All right, so when you create your table, you're going to want to label it. So we'll do this by creating a banner. So select 5 cells across And using the merge tool, we are going to merge the cells. So again, this combines the cells to create one larger cell. And we're going to label this April expenses. And let's go ahead and just center that. Okay. Next, we'll create the headers for our table. We'll have an expenses column. We're going to have a planned column, an actual column, and let's see, let's have a difference column, and then a percentage of income. Let's make our table stand out by using the borders. So what we're going to do is let's create a single border around that header, and you can change the style of the lines however thick you want it. So let's do that, and then let's go ahead and create there. So our columns are nicely defined. All right, well, for the sake of this presentation, I'm going to switch over to a sheet that I've already started, and it has the 4 different tables. I'm going to share this, and let's see, let's copy this link, and I'm going to add it to the chat. So you'll find a link to this table in the chat, so you can hop in and follow along and save it. All right, so now that we've switched over to this sheet, let's go ahead and list out some of our monthly expenses. So let's see, we are going to have a expense titled food, home, transportation, school, and clothing. Okay. So next we'll want to plan our budget. So let's plug in some numbers into the planned column for each expense. For our monthly budget in April, for food, let's say we are going to spend $150. For home, $300, transportation, $50, school, $100, and clothing, $50. Well, let's go ahead and format these as currency. So it's just a matter of highlighting that column and selecting format as currency. Our first function is going to be the sum function. So this is going to add up the cells in this column. So select the first cell in the totals row under planned, so this right here, and then you're going to type in equals, and then select the first cell, excuse me, you're going to type in equal and then sum, open bracket, and then you're going to left click that first cell in the column, and while left clicking, scroll your mouse down to the last cell in the column. And then you're going to hit enter. So what that does is that tallies up all those numbers in your planned column, and it'll, so that it tallies that up. So let's go ahead and do this for the remaining columns in our expenses. So we'll just hit equals, sum, open bracket, left click that first cell under actual, and while left clicking, scroll down and hit enter. And then let's go ahead and do that for difference. Oops. Equals sum, left click that first cell, while left clicking, scroll down and hit enter. And then I'll do that one more time. Equals sum, open bracket, left click that first cell under the percent of income, scroll all the way down and hit enter. Okay, now let's calculate the difference. Select the first cell in your difference column, you're going to type in, so you're going to type equals, then you're going to select the first cell in your planned column, and then you're going to type minus, select the first cell in your actual column, and then hit enter. So what that does is that it takes your planned, it subtracts it from your actual, and it gives you that difference. So you can autofill if you'd like. For the sake of this presentation, I'm not going to, so I'll X out of that. And then instead, let's do that calculation one more time. So equals our planned minus our actual, and that'll give us the total, the difference. And another trick is you can copy that formula by hovering over that blue box that appears in the right-hand corner. You'll get a little crosshair symbol. If you left click on that and scroll all the way down, that'll copy the formula into the different cells. All right, so next thing we're going to want to do is calculate the percentage of income. So this column right here. To do this, we'll have to complete our income table, our source of income, at least the planned portion. And so you can plug in your actual income as you receive it. So let's say you've got a part-time job and you plan on making $600. And then let's say you have a secondary job and you make $100. Let's go ahead and add up. Well, before I do that, let's format this as currency. And then let's add up the two sources of income. So again, you're going to hit equals sum, open bracket, left click that first cell and just scroll all the way down and hit enter. So that'll give us a total. And to practice using that sum function, let's go ahead and do that for our actual, even though we don't have anything populated into those cells. So you'll type equals sum, open bracket, left click that first cell under actual column, and then highlight all the way down and then hit enter. And we can do that for difference as well. So let's go ahead and calculate the percentage of income. Since we already have our income table figured out, I think that's the next thing we'll do. So you're going to select that first cell under the percentage of income, and then you're going to type equals, and then you're going to select the first cell under your planned column. So that $150 planned expense for food. And then you're going to do a / for as the division sign. And then you're going to type in your total planned income of $700 and then hit enter. And that'll give you the percent as a currency, but to format that as a percentage, you'll just highlight that column and then hit format as percent, and it'll turn it into a percentage. And you can do that for the remaining expenses that you have. So to do that again, it's equals, we'll select 300 divided by that 700 and hit enter. To copy that formula, it's just a matter of selecting that cell, scrolling over that blue box in the right-hand corner, and then just highlighting it all the way down, and that'll give you that percentage. It'll apply that for the remaining cells. All right, next, let's look at our total table. To quickly plug in the numbers for your planned income and planned expenses, you'll simply select the cell. So let's do, hold on, let's see. So let's have our income and then our expenses. And what you'll do is to plug it in for income, you'll hit enter, or excuse me, you'll hit equals, you'll type equal, and then you'll select that cell and then hit enter. And then you'll do the same for your expenses. So you'll click the cell under your planned and then type equals 650 and then hit enter. A reminder, again, your planned totals, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to subtract these two. So to do that, it's just a matter of hitting equals your income minus your expenses, and that'll give you the total of that, the difference. Again, just a reminder, your planned totals is your income minus expenses. Okay, so now that we've kind of played around with that, let's go over to our daily spending table. We're going to want, this is where you're going to want to tally up or just keep a record of all of your spending habits for the month. So everything you spend every single day, you're going to want to plug it into this table. So the first thing that we'll do is we are going to format the date column as a date. So to do that, you'll just highlight that entire column and then go to format, and we're going to go over to number and select date. And so when you plug in, let's say 4/1, that'll automatically format it as a date. So April 1st, 2021. Okay, and then let's go ahead, and what we'll do is, let's say on April 1st, you bought some pizza and you spent about $15. And instead of having to type in the category for every single purchase, you can create a drop-down menu. And what this is going to do is this is going to automatically, so it's going to create a drop-down menu of your expenses, of your monthly expenses. And in order to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to highlight the cells under that table, or excuse me, highlight the cells under the category column. And then you're going to go to data and then scroll down to data validation. And the list range is going to be everything, again, everything under that column A. So what we're going to do is we're going to left click and select the expenses under column A in our expense table. We only want to use these expenses, so we're going to reject input, and then we're going to save. Okay, so what that does is, again, it creates a drop-down menu of all of your expenses. So let's say halfway through the month, you end up getting a new pet and you add that to your expenses column. It will automatically populate under category. All right. And the last step we're going to want to do is we're going to want to use a formula that is going to have your daily spending table communicating with your monthly expenses table. To do this, we're going to use the sum if formula. So go to the first cell under your actual column, and you're going to type equals sum if, open bracket, then left click and highlight the cells under categories column. So right over here. So let's do that. And then we're going to type comma and then type the expense in quotation marks. So our first expense is food. So that's in quotation marks, and then comma, and then you're going to left click and highlight the cells under the amount column. So left click and highlight all of those cells in that amount column, and then hit enter. Right now, that is giving us 0. And that's because I haven't categorized my first expense of pizza. But once I categorize it as food, you'll notice that it populates in that actual column. So let's say I bought some books for school on the 2nd of April and I spent $20. Let's categorize that as school and I hit enter. Oops. So it doesn't automatically populate because we haven't applied that sum if formula in our actual. So in order to do that, you'll need to type out that formula again. So let's do that once more. I'll do it for home. So equals sum if, open bracket, and you're going to, again, left click and highlight the cells under column, under the category column. And then you're going to type comma, and then in quotation mark or quotations, you're going to type the expense and then hit comma and then highlight the cells under the amount column and then hit enter. So again, I haven't categorized that as home. Let's say I change this category and I spent $20 on a home purchase, it will automatically show up. To copy this sum if formula into the other cells, you can do that. But mind you, you're going to want to go in and change the actual expense. So right now for transportation, it is showing up as home. So you're just going to want to key, you're going to want to type in the actual expense for each one. All right. All right, so that is pretty much how you can create a simple budget spreadsheet using Google Sheets. Are there any questions? If there are any questions, type it into the chat. If not, that is okay. Again, I've dropped a link to this specific spreadsheet in the chat. And you'll also be getting a recording of this presentation. So hopefully you'll be able to watch if you have any questions or you forget how to create a how to do that sum if formula. You can always watch this portion of the presentation. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll turn our attention back to the PowerPoint presentation. And yeah, we'll talk about step 3 and navigating your finances and budgeting for college.
All right, so step 3 is save. An excellent step to consider when you're budgeting for college and planning for your financial goals is to get a basic checking and savings account started at a bank or a credit union. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the reasons for using a bank or a credit union. Without a savings and a checking account, managing your money can get expensive, paying for check cashing fees or buying money orders to pay for bills. A checking or savings account can help you keep your money safe. You can use these accounts to take advantage of direct deposit. They allow you to monitor your balance online. You would be able to access your money from anywhere. And these accounts can help you to build a banking relationship, an important part of your credit history that we'll talk about in step 4. Financial institutions also offer a variety of insured savings accounts, each of which pay a different interest rate. 2 types of accounts that you can get are a general savings account, which earns interest and allow access of funds at any time and movement of money from account to account. A certificate of deposit or a CD, which are purchased for a specified term and return principal and interest at the end of the term. Early withdrawal and penalties apply. When it comes to saving money, whether you're saving as little as $10 or $100, whatever money you can save is beneficial in the long run. Set up a savings goal for yourself. This can be a daily, weekly, or monthly goal, and stick to it. There are free savings calculators that you can use to help calculate how much money you need to save to reach your financial goal. Once you've figured out a specific amount that you'd like to save and the frequency at which you'll save that money, put it aside in a savings account. It's important to separate your spending money from your savings. Your spending money for things such as everyday needs should be kept in a checking account. Always remember that you shouldn't use your savings unless it's an emergency. Its purpose is for long term, so treat it as an investment. Another trip you could use Another tip you can use when thinking about savings money is to ask your parents for assistance. Maybe your parents can match your daily, weekly, or monthly savings. It doesn't hurt to ask. Lastly, when you're thinking about saving money and budgeting for college, look at student discounts to help you save. Oftentimes, you'll need to provide your student ID to receive these discounts, but every little bit matters. Step 4 is to build credit. So now that you're budgeting and saving as you think about college and your future careers, another step you can take is to build your credit. Examples of building credit include paying for for your car and any tolls on your credit card, and then paying down that amount off or pay it down or off every month. This helps to create a payment history and helps you to utilize the credit card without spending an excessive or large amount of money. You can buy groceries with your credit card or pay monthly bills. The important thing is to remember that you don't that sorry, the important thing to remember is that you want to pay it down or off every month. Don't spend money that you don't have. Keep in mind, if you are interested in getting a credit card, many financial institutions have specific requirements that you have to meet before you'll qualify. For example, they might require that you have a direct deposit account, or they might require that you have an account open with them for a certain amount of time before you'll qualify. A good habit to develop as you're building your credit is to check your credit report annually. Even if you haven't used credit in the past, you might have information on your credit report and it might be incorrect. Your credit report shows everything about your payment history, such as late payments and your credit account usage. Lenders use credit reports, credit scores, and other information such as employment history and income history when making the decision to extend credit. So, what is a credit score? Credit score is a statistically generated number representing the likelihood that you will repay the amount you've taken out on credit back on time. The higher the score, the less risk you represent to the lender. Your credit report is used to build your credit score. A credit score is not free, but some banks and credit companies do provide free credit scores with their account services. It's a good idea to check your score before you apply for a loan to find out if your score is eligible for the best interest rate, which would be the lowest interest rate. If the information on your credit report is accurate, then your score is accurate because it's based on information from your report. So, what's included in a credit report? The most important aspect of a credit report is your history of payments. Were your payments made on time or were they late? If your payments are late or delinquent, this will lower your credit score, which means you'll probably have to pay higher interest rates or even be denied credit. Another aspect of your credit report is the amount owed on credit accounts, which affects your score. The Federal Reserve Board of Governors publishes a guide on credit, and there's also great info on the ftc.gov website, which includes a sample dispute letter to send when you find a mistake on your credit report. So once you know the score, there are ways to improve or repair damaged credit or establishing credit for the first time. Remember that a recent credit history is more important on your credit score than old credit history. Keep in mind, events stay on your credit history for 7 years. If you're establishing credit for the first time, a secured credit card might be a good idea for building your credit. It'll require a deposit usually equal to your credit limit. After 6 months or a year at the most goes by, the secured card company will return your deposit and your secured card becomes a regular credit card. Some people confuse these with prepaid cards, but prepaid cards do not build credit. Another type of starter account might be a retail store card or a gas card. Make sure the card provider will report payments to the credit reporting companies, though. We know that credit is a good tool to have, but always ask yourself if you're ready to take on a new credit obligation. You want to have credit if you'll ever need it. But is it better to save for some purchases like a TV or a laptop as opposed to putting that on credit? These are good questions to ask yourself and discuss with your parents. Always think about the pros and cons of financing a purchase. Here are some quick reminders on building good credit. Develop a budget and stick to it. Getting a new credit card does not mean you have more income. Save money so you're prepared for a rainy day. 3 to 6 months of living expenses are recommended, but it's not always possible. Pay your bills on time. Keep your credit card balances low or aim to pay them off monthly. If you pay them off monthly, you don't accrue interest charges. Check your credit reports annually and dispute any incorrect information. When budgeting for college and building wealth, you need to take steps to make sure you build your credit responsibly and control any debt. Talk to your parents about whether or not building credit is the right decision for you at this moment in time. Here is some information on how you can go about reviewing your credit report. There are 3 major credit reporting companies, and each typically have the same information since most creditors report to all 3. In this case, it's going to be Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You've probably heard their names a couple of times, but those are going to be the ones that companies will typically pull credit scores from. So we'll move on to step 5, how to protect your belongings.
So another expense to budget for is insurance. Insurance is important to use to protect your belongings and yourself. There are several types of insurance that can range from protecting something as small as a laptop to protecting something as large as a house. Some insurance is required by law and others are optional. Make sure you get the insurance that you need to protect yourself and your belongings. So again, there are different types of insurance for yourself and your property. Let's talk about the basics of a few of them. Auto insurance, you must have a liability insurance at a minimum to cover injury to other people or damage to their property. If you have a car loan, you might also be required to have physical damage coverage, especially if it's a new car. Home renters insurance protects your home and possessions in the event of fire or theft or exploding pipes. I mean, these are things that you have to take into account. So you're going to want to have home and renters insurance. Home warranty is an annual service contract that covers the repair or replacement of important appliances and system components that break down over time for things such as AC, heating. A good action step to take every year is to review your renters and auto insurance coverage, your deductibles and premiums. It may be time to shop around and save on your monthly premium without taking on too much additional risk. Another type of insurance is health insurance. You should always consider health insurance in your budget when you're completing your annual enrollment in healthcare insurance provider and when you're thinking about your monthly and annual budget. Many educational institutions offer healthcare to their students. Some students might have the opportunity to receive healthcare through their employer or through their parents' insurance plans. So that's something to think about. Again, it's important that you determine which healthcare plan would be the best for you and your circumstances. And all of these types of insurance, they're made to help protect the wealth that you've accumulated. And yeah. So here are some additional links to resources where you can find more information. The Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas has resources on their website that relates to money management and college and careers. So check out buildingwealth.org. Navigate is the curriculum that helps you explore college and careers. There's a portion that focuses on the financial aspects of higher education, so you'll want to take a look at that. Big Future College Board is another great resource. There's a lot of information that pertains to financial aid. And lastly, check out planolibrarylearns.org. We do have classes such as simple Excel budget spreadsheet creation. And yeah, so that's something that you should check out. All right, well, this concludes our presentation. Once again, thank you for taking the time to attend our virtual program on budgeting for college. You can find more resources on our website, planolibrary.org, as well as our blog, planolibrarylearns.org. We'll open it up to a Q&A. Are there any questions?